My name is Audrey Linton, and I've had over 25 years experience in various disciplines. Organizational development has been one of them, employee engagement, policy making, whistleblowing, HR, coaching, communications, career development. So I've had a lot of experience across my working life in various things. So that's me in a nutshell. I met Esther a few years ago when she was working, sort of starting up on Light Foundations, and the project that she was doing, I thought it was really good. So I'm really pleased to be able to be helping out today with some of the areas of work. So, okay, that's me. So the aims of this session is hopefully, and we've only got a short time, we've only got up until 1 o'clock. So I'm going to cram a few things in, but I can also leave a few things out as well if we want to focus on more major things. So today the aim of the session is to understand key employability skills, especially in the UK. And they're probably not that much different from what you've experienced before, but within the UK, there are some nuances that we need that might be different from those in Hong Kong. So we're going to look at preparing for interview. We're going to look at cover letters and CV writing, communication skills, professional etiquette, just touching on understanding job descriptions, dealing with job rejection, and maintaining a good mental health. Now, some of this has already been written in Chinese, but we're gonna, if you're having difficulty seeing this, let me know. But we're gonna start looking at the covering letter. Now, does anyone know what the covering letter is? The covering letter, you can unmute yourself and give me an explanation. Anyone?
Yeah, I'll give it a try here. I think it's like it's different from the CV where you consolidated or summarize all the skill sets and experiences or educational background in the past. But covering letter is it's like a sales pitch, I would say. How far to what extent I'm fit for that position. Yeah, but yes, sometimes I got a question here. Sometimes I wonder if the recruiters or HR hiring manager, they really got the time to reveal the cover letters, or they just skip it altogether.
That's a really good question. I'll give you the answer to that. Okay. So we'll talk about why there's a covering letter and if they do have time, because sometimes, yes, you're right. And that's why a covering letter and a CV has to be very succinct. So the covering letter, as you said, is the first chance to sell yourself. And it's also the chance to elaborate on what is on your CV. So the main points on your CV, you can elaborate on them. But don't make the covering letter too long unless they ask for it. So the covering letter should be at least 3 paragraphs, if anything. And the main points that goes on the covering letter is state what position you're applying for and what makes you the best candidate. So you state about, I'm applying for customer service assistant or IT technician, and I bring these skills in this. And so that's what the first paragraph should really be: sharp, succinct, and to the point. And then the second paragraph could be around give details of what you can contribute to the company and how your qualifications match the job description. It's very important to look at the job description, read the job description, and see what they're asking for, and then ensure that you are matching that. Also, as well, describe why do you want to apply to that company? What makes you the right fit for that company? So do a little bit of a research on that company as well. Okay, so if you're applying to an advertised job, relate your skills to those that are in the specified job description. Okay, I'm sure some of you may know that's why I'm just trying to reiterate that, so that you need to match your skills to the job description. So if you are applying for, let's see, you know, an IT assistant, and you're not saying anything about your IT background, then, you know, that might, or your transferable skills, you know, that might be a little bit, it might not match the job description. Okay. And then the third paragraph, write your career aims, linking them to the company's field of expertise and the job to which you're applying for. Okay, so you do that. So again, your skills, your expertise, and give an example. So if there is something about within the CV, sorry, within the job description about, you know, you need skills in these things, then write about what your expertise has been in that field, and maybe given a couple of examples about that. And then I usually end with the third paragraph, requesting an interview at the reader's convenience, and state that you'll be in touch with them. Now, that is if you are sending a covering letter without a job description. And what I mean by that, say you're just writing to a company that you're interested in, and they have not advertised a job. You're just doing a speculative, what we call a speculative CV. So you're just sending that your CV to that organization, even though they're not applying, but you're just telling them your skills. You can request an interview at the reader's convenience and state that you'll be in touch with them. And don't forget your contact details. So that's why we have the covering letter. The covering letter enhances the CV. Okay, are you with me so far? Any questions? Fantastic. Right, so we have the CV, okay, which is the most important thing. Now, some organizations will want a CV. Other organizations might want an application form. Okay, so when you're applying for a role, they will ask you whether to complete an application form, which is completely different, or whether they want a CV. Some organizations don't take CVs, they just want you to complete an application form. Some organizations just want you to complete a CV. So just read and see what they are asking for. That's the main thing. So let's look at the CV now. So what is the CV there for? What is it trying to achieve? Any thoughts? What's the CV trying to achieve? Otto, what's the CV trying to achieve?
To highlight some of the professional skills related to the work at the employer company.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. So I think you said you were in property management and something like that. And no doubt maybe you're applying for something in that field. So it's it's a snapshot of your experience and your skills. So the CV is a snapshot of your experience, your skills, and how it meets the criteria that the organization is advertising. So that's what the CV is trying to achieve. And your CV, just before we go on to how it should be set out, it's important in the CV to know who you are, to place who you are. So it needs your name, your email address, maybe your LinkedIn profile, a telephone number, and also maybe a personal profile, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the CV as well, if you think about it, someone mentioned before, employers are receiving lots and lots of CV. So you've got to think, well, what will make yours stand out? Now, usually when I look at a lot of CVs, people put their pictures on, they make it all, nice and fluffy, but that's not what employers are looking for. So you don't need to waste time putting a picture on and things like that. What employers are looking for is how your experience match their criteria. So you need to get as much information on about that. So it's got to be clear, clean, and concise. It's got to be high quality. And when I mean high quality, I mean ensure there's no spelling mistakes, ensure it's in the right order and it's structured properly. And ensure that, I know this might sound really silly, but ensure it's not too small writing. So have it in a font that's about 11-12, and there's headings and bullet points and white space. Okay, so that's how a CV, and I'll show you a copy of how it should be laid out shortly. Okay, so let's now look at what should be on the CV. The CV should always be typed, especially now because you're actually sending it by email or by the platform that you saw the role advertised. As I said before, your name, email address, and telephone number should be at the top. Now, I don't know how many of you put this, but a lot of CV has a 2 or 3 line, what we call a personal profile, which is a profile of your expertise. It's only short, only about 3 lines, but it's always good to put a few lines about you and your experience and what you bring. So it's like a summary of you. Then the next line is around qualifications. Now, this depends. I look at a lot of graduates and postgrads CVs, and if they're just leaving university, I always advise them to put their qualifications up front. If you're a more experienced employee and you're a more experienced person with a lot of work experience, I had always advised to put your qualifications at the end of the CV, because it's the work experience that's more important rather than the qualifications. But if it is a new graduate, I always ask them to put the qualifications at the beginning of the CV after their personal profile. So it might be a BSc in criminology and social science or whatever, and put their qualifications there. Then the next and most important part of the CV is the career history. So we put that in chronological order, starting with what you're doing presently first. So what you're doing presently. Now, it can be paid work or voluntary work, actually. It doesn't really matter. If you're not working, if you're not getting paid for the work you do, but you're doing some voluntary work, you can put that as well. It's always important. What employers are looking for is your ability to be able to work in the place of work, as well as the skills that you bring. So they're looking as well for team working skills. They're looking for leadership skills. They're looking for good communication skills, decision-making skills, etc. So sometimes it's always good to bring some of those transferable skills into the role. Okay, so I think one of you talked about legal. Who was it that said about wanting legal experience? Was it, let me just see, Isabella, was it you?
Sam here.
Sam, sorry, yes, Sam, yeah. I can't see everyone on the screen, so Sam, you were saying that you were looking, tell me a little bit about what you've done, Sam, in the past.
I'm a lawyer in Hong Kong.
Yeah, okay. So have you do you know anything about our law system here in terms of a solicitor? Is it a solicitor, what we call a solicitor here that you do? Yeah.
Yes, I did went to university in the UK. I graduated with a law degree in UK.
Okay.
So, but I'm finding it very difficult to find a job here.
Okay. And what are you looking for, if you don't mind me asking?
Paralegals, junior law firms roles.
Right. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
And sorry.
Sorry,
please.
what field of law? Is he family, immigration? What kind of law have you done?
I'm open to any sort of law, to be honest.
And is that what you've done in Hong Kong? Was it similar, or did you have a specific field?
No, I worked in property and criminal law in Hong Kong.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
because some organizations will cover the whole remit, and as Sam is looking for the paralegal, that's sort of like a route in, and then maybe if he wants to do more training here to get him as a qualified solicitor here,
Yes,
I think that's what you're trying to do, isn't it, Sam?
yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. Well, we can have a conversation offline. I think that might be better, rather than me trying to, because I know everyone here will have their own specific career. Law is slightly not different, but you know what I mean, because of the route in for solicitors and stuff, it might be different. And you're obviously looking for solicitor, not a barrister. You're not going down
Yes.
that route.
No.
Exactly. So maybe a conversation offline would be good, because CV, though, it's the same. Obviously, you've got the skills. I would need to see your CV to see why you're not getting the roles. So that might be something that I'd need to look at, just to let you know that. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. But in terms of writing a CV, whatever you're applying for, it's usually this. Now, in terms of if you're applying for the banking industry and the IT industry, the CV should be no more than 1 page. If you're applying for anything else like law or anything, it can go up to 2 pages. But CVs should actually be no more than 2 pages. Because remember, if an employer is getting a lot of CVs, they're not going to have time to wade through more than 2 pages. Now, if you're applying for an academic role where you've got a doctorate and you've written a lot of articles, then that's slightly different. Your CV could be longer, but mainly go for a 2-page CV unless you're applying for the banking industry and IT industry. Go for a 1-page CV. So you understand how succinct your CV needs to be. Can you see that, everyone? Yeah. So basically, that's how a CV should be set out. So the name, email, telephone, LinkedIn address, your personal profile. Remember, very concise overview of your experience and skills. So here's an example. Highly experienced IT professional within finance and IT industry, skilled in AI and electronics with project management skills, highly motivated, competent with excellent communication skills. So short, succinct, to the point. Okay. Then your career history, unless you're a graduate, and you put your education. So the education usually go next, and then you put your BSc, MA, or whatever skills you've got. But then we are career history, and it's starting date and present. So like the date is like, when did you start? So I started March 2020 to present date, and what the role is. Okay, so IT administrator with Google. Here's an example. So I'm an IT administrator, Google UK, started March 2020, and I finished November 2023. Or if I'm still working with Google, I would put March 2020 to present. Okay, now here is just an example of what I've been doing at Google. So successfully implemented and project managed AI projects to enhance the organization visibility and increase sales by 45% per month. Now that is totally made up. I made that up. That's not real. But can you see how it's written? Would you write your CV like that? Would you write your example like that? Any thoughts? No? No thoughts on that? Anyone? What is good about the way that's written? Any thoughts? I'll call on someone. Otto, what is good about the way that's written?
I thought it would be more concrete to show the previous achievement in some quantifying measure. Because some employer may think they are focused on figures. So if the employer is looking to things in this way, this will be more convincing.
Fantastic. That is perfect answer.
Yeah.
It quantifies what the person has done, and it's given some of the impact of what the person has done. Some CVs I see, people just give a list of all they're doing. So IT administrator, Google UK, they would say type notes of minutes. What else do they do? It's just a checklist of everything that they've done, and that's not what employers are looking for. They want to see how you've done it and what the impact has been. What has the impact been of you doing AI projects or IT projects? You know, what did it achieve for the company? So that's just an example. Then you give your next so I would say for Google UK, I would give about 3 examples, 3 bullet points, make it succinct, 3 bullet points. Then I'd do my next role, the organization, same thing there, another role, etc., etc. Okay, so that's what I would do. And even if you've got voluntary roles, I would put voluntary roles in there as well. Then I'd give my education, which, you know, BSc, MA, whatever that may be. Continuous professional development. So maybe that means any additional development that you have been doing. You know, employers like to see that. So as well as your education, what else have you been doing? And then if you have time, interests and hobbies, that might be helpful as well. And that, as I said, should be fitted on at no more than 2 pages. Okay. I'll stop sharing that. Have I got any questions there while I'm there? Any questions? Any thoughts? Are you all okay with that? Great. Okay, let me go back to sharing. Let's see. Give me a minute. Sorry, I've got to just... Let me move on. Right, I'm just quickly going to run through this because I realise time is going actually. So CVs are for different purposes. As I said before, you get what we call speculative employers. So that's when you decide, you say you want to work for Google or for Microsoft or someone. So you send a CV to their HR department asking for a role, saying this is your skills, this is what I've done, etc. And I would like to know if there's any more roles. So that's speculative CVs. There's also applying through agencies, job agencies. So some of you might have been signed up to an agency where you can actually ask the agency to keep you informed of any roles that's coming up. Then, as I said before, job applications are different than CVs. And usually the employer states what they want on the job application. So some employers, you actually have to go into their portal and type the information that they want. So they don't necessarily want to CV, but they're looking for a job application. Right. I'm not going to do that just because of time, but just shout out. So you can unmute yourself here. Tell me some of the skills that employers are looking for. Just shout them out, or just unmute yourself. Some of the skills that employers might be looking for.
Maybe communication skills, teamwork, working independently.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else, anyone? Anyone? Isabella, you're...
Yeah, I think organizational skills, that's very important. And also interpersonal skills to work and deal with people from all walks of life.
Fantastic. Now, that's a really good point. So they'll be looking for those things. Project management skills are good things now, and all these, some of the other technical skills. But just to let you know, in your CV, I see a lot of CVs that people just do a list of saying good communication skills, good listening skills, good this skills, etc. But what employers are looking for is they want you to demonstrate in the CV how you've had good communication skills. You know, give an example of what makes you think your communication skills are good. So that's where that comes in the CV, or even more so in the covering letter, if that is a major thing. So usually I see people just put a list of all their skills. If you can't verify those skills, then, you know, I wouldn't put them in. So they're more looking for, well, tell us a little bit of how you've used these skills and give an example of it. Okay, so that's just something to be aware of. When you're writing a personal statement, so remember the first 3 or 4 lines on your CV, make sure you've got very active words like, you know, you convince, correspond, defined, explained, influence. And actually those active words should be throughout your CV, very active words. I see some CVs that are very, they will say things like, let me just see, worked with children, and that's all it says. It doesn't say what they did, or worked with disabled children, and it's not giving any information about, well, what was the outcome of working with these particular groups. Okay, and just a little of an example of a personal statement here. This is one that's my personal statement. A people development consultant, qualified coach with expertise in transformational leadership and personal development, excellent interpersonal skills, able to work with people at all levels, empathetic and values orientated, ability to achieve result and positive influence change. Now that is a pretty long, that's what I put, but I think that's pretty long, so I'd probably shorten that. Here's another one of a personal statement. Instrumental in developing a new IT system to support a new payroll system for over 10,000 employees. Managed an incredible team to deliver projects on time and to budget. Or here's another one. A customer-focused retail assistant with excellent listening and questioning skills to understand customer needs. So that's just some examples there. Right. I'm not going to go too much into this just because of time, but I'll leave. But you can have these on your as we give you the presentation. So here's something about application forms and writing application forms. Ensure you meet the criteria. What did you do? How did you do it? And what was the outcome? Usually application forms should be written in a STAR, S-T-A-R format, and we will talk about STAR in a minute. I'll talk about that shortly. If you're going through a recruitment agency, which recruitment agency? So some of you would have used job sites like Indeed, like what else is there? CV library. LinkedIn is a great place to find roles, or a recruitment agency. So these are some of the places that you can go to find jobs. Right. I'll leave that for now. Things to remember: develop a personal marketing strategy. What I mean by that, how are you going to market yourself? Do your own PR. So not even just job sites, but go to networking meetings, conferences. So before Sam, do you go to any legal business networking meetings? Can you talk to people there? So think about how you can not just send a CV online, but go to network meetings, talk to people. Go to network meetings where you will have people from your industry, so that you can ask them, how do I get a role with you? How can I get my CV to you? And they will give you contacts. They can be your door openers. Have a business card, maybe. And what by that I mean, you might not have a business, but what you've got is your name, address, and your LinkedIn details on a card that you can give to people. Okay.
Nice.
And what by that I mean, you might not have a business, but what you've got is your name, address, and your LinkedIn details on a card that you can give to people. Okay.
Nice. Can I just add on to that, Audrey? So one of our previous trainee, Jeffrey Charlie, was with us for 2 months, for 3 months really. And then we were invited to a business dinner by one of our partners, and he went. I asked him to go and represent Light Foundations, and it was during that business dinner that he met one of the local councillors within Ealing, exchanged details with them and other contacts, and through that contact, the councillor was able to introduce him to his wife, and his wife offered him more like a volunteering paid work, and through that volunteering paid work, he now kind of like met other 2 key contacts who have offered him job, and this is in a specific area of interest, of a specific area of work. And these are very key contacts, because one of them is one of the biggest organizers of the music. They bring people from Asian countries coming to the UK. The other one is doing the event program. So being able to go out and network with different people is very, very important, whether you are looking for a job or doing a business, because that's the only way you're going to meet other people who actually have other contacts as well. So that's out and expose yourselves.
That's really good, because I met him as well, Ian, didn't I? And so for him to be where he is now, that's really, really useful information. So we're going to go on to interview skills, but I'm going to give you a quick break, have a comfort break. We will, let me just stop sharing for the time being. Just before we go into our comfort break, are there any questions? Anyone got
just one,
yes.
Audrey? This is Isabella. I just got one question. I think I'll drop it down on the Google form as well. Because I realized there are quite a lot of hiring manager or recruiters, they are using AI tool, or what they call ATS. I think it's applicant tracking system, in screening out shortlisting CVs for potential candidates. So how could I increase the, I don't know like the mechanism of that, but I feel that sometimes I heard novice not much responses. I think after sending out over hundreds of CVs out there on the market, I haven't heard like more than 3 to 5 potential like feedback from the recruiters. So is there anything I need to take notice to about this kind of AI tool?
Yeah, first of all, it'd be good for me to see the CV, to see what's going on, because at the university that I'm working with at the moment, they use a tool called VMock, VMOCK. And what we encourage students to write their CV, then put it through VMOC, and VMOC then gives some suggestions of how they can improve it. So what AI tools are going to be doing, this is the interesting thing, why they're looking at the positive, active action words. That's what the AI tools will be looking at. You know, there's certain positive, active words that they will be looking at, and they will want as well. So they will compare what the job description is to what's on your CV to see if you meet and match that criteria.
Should
Yeah.
should I use some of their like same wordings that appeared on the JD and just
Some-
kind of not exactly copy and paste, but I need to like echoes exactly the same as the JD?
I would suggest that. I mean, not exactly, don't copy, but you know, make sure it matches very much so. So if they're asking as well, like for 3 years experience, and you probably only put 2 years, that will probably, you know, they'll probably knock you out from that. But so it's very hard to know sometimes, because remember, the AI tools is how the employer has organized it. So the employer has the tool, and they put what their keywords are. So it's sometimes
Yeah.
a bit of hit and miss. But if you make sure that you have some of those positive words and those active verbs, etc., then that really helps. And because I've not seen your CV, I can't really tell, but yeah, I would suggest that.
Yeah, I know those platform or software, they come into different sizes and shapes, and it's really difficult to understand the mechanism of all of them. Okay.
It is, yeah. So things like I had to work, that's a passive verb. So maybe use something like I was involved, I was required, and something like that, you know. So it's just things like that you've got to be thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Got it. Great. But yeah, I can look at the CV if you wanted me to. So let's just have a break. It's 12 o'clock on my clock now. 5 minutes. So can everyone hear me? Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
So we're going to go on to interview skills. Okay. I'm going to move on quickly because we don't have that much time, and I wanted to do an exercise with you in interview skills. So well done, you've got the interview. So now what do we do? So when you've got an interview, I'm sure some of you know this, that you start by researching, doing a bit of research on the organization that you're going to go for an interview. What is the employer looking for in terms of skills, experience? Also remember that even though you've done your CV and you've sent your CV, employers don't always remember your CV, nor do they always have your CV in front of them. So you might think, oh, well, they should remember that it's on my CV. No, they don't. You need to sort of retell this, your story of what's on your CV, because not all employers who see the CV are those who interview you, just to make sure that you realize that. So employers, so skills, experience, first impressions always counts. And the most important thing about interview skills is preparation. Always prepare. Do a preparation of the type of questions that they may ask you, what they may ask you, and practice. Get someone to practice with, get someone to ask you the questions that they may ask, and practice. Okay, that's always very important. Now, the type of questions that interviewers might ask are the traditional interview questions like, tell me a little bit about yourself, why do you want this role, what skills do you bring to this role, why are you applying to this company, etc., etc. So those are some of the traditional interview questions that they may ask. They may ask hypothetical questions like, well, what would you do if this happened? and you've got to think on your feet. What would you do? So it's all some of those questions they will do. A lot of employers these days do competency-based questions, and we're going to look at that in a moment because there's a way you can answer those questions. And they do assessment centres. So when you go into assessment centre, or they may do an online assessment centre where you've got to do things like numerical skills and all those type of assessment type skills. But that usually comes before the interviews. Some employers might do group interviews as well. I've known an employer that I've been in a group interview situations, but it's usually either face to face or on Zoom. A lot of interviews are on Zoom as well at this time, and there is a Zoom etiquette as well that you need to remember. Okay, so I said before about competency-based questions, and these competency-based questions are usually about, give me an example of how you have. So it could be around leadership, team working, any of those things, negotiation skills, but it's always an example. They're always saying, give me an example of how you displayed good leadership skills. What was the situation? What did you have to do? And what was the result? And this is what we call answering those competency questions using the STAR approach. First of all, does anyone know about STAR? STAR. Just unmute yourself, say yay or nay. Okay, so no one.
No,
Yes.
haven't heard of that.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, well, I'll tell you about it then. So this is the STAR, and a lot of employers are using this approach now. So it's a technique to help you to answer those questions. So when you get competency-based questions like, give me an example of, right, you use this approach. So this approach is you answer the question, telling the employer what the situation is. So you describe the situation, and remember, it's got to be very succinct. So the situation might say, well, I was a waitress in a well-known, extremely busy London restaurant. So the question might have been, give me an example of when you showed great customer service skills. So the way you answer it is using the STAR approach. Well, I was a waitress in a well-known, extremely busy London restaurant. So that's the situation. That's the overview. Okay. Then you talk about the task, right? So what's the task? So what is it that you were there to do? So my task was to serve customers who book large bookings over 20 or over 10 people or more, and ensure they receive their orders in a timely manner. Okay, so that's the task. So what action did you take to ensure you delivered that task? So what action did I take to complete the task? In order to do this, I followed the restaurant protocol of ensuring customers comes first, sticking to my waitress training that I received in how to organize orders, and ensuring that I listen to customer needs. So I've said what the action is. So as a result, what was the result of taking that action? So as a result of following these procedures, I was able to organize my small team to provide drinks and starters in an orderly manner and to serve hot food. And the team received an exceptionally large tip from customers. So that was the result. So I've used the situation, task, action, result. So again, I'll just go through it. So I was a waitress. So they've asked me the question, give us an example of how you provided great customer service. Well, I was a waitress in a well-known, extremely busy London restaurant. My task was to serve customers who had large bookings, and I needed to serve these customers in a timely manner. In order to do this, I followed my waitress training. I went according to the restaurant protocol. I ensured that I listened to customers and I organized the orders in a way that I was trained to do. And as a result of that, we were able to deliver drinks and starters and a full meal in a timely manner. And we even got an exceptionally large tip as a result of doing that. So I've answered that question in a very short space of time and given them the answer. Does everyone get that? Are you with me? Just give me a nod, say yes, say no.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you understand how that answers the question? You can unmute. Yeah. Okay. Plus as well, what the interviewer might do, they may ask you follow-up questions if you've not explained things, if they need more clarity. So they may ask you follow-up questions like, well, explain how you did that. Explain how you provided that good customer service. Explain, you know, so they may ask you follow-up questions. But that basically is the STAR approach. And that's really a good method of answering questions, interview questions, when you're asked those things. So let me move on, and we're going to do an exercise. Let me just see what time it is. And so this is what I'd like you to do. So Jan, if you can get ready, don't do it yet, but we're going to have 3 breakout rooms, 3 in one, 3 in another, and it's 3, 6, 9, sorry, 4. Yeah, 3 breakout rooms. Let me get my maths right. So 3 in one, 3 in another, and 4 in one of them. Okay, and you can just do it ad hoc. It doesn't matter who's in who. But this is what we're going to do, guys. And we're going to have 15 minutes for this. And really, we're going to stick to time because time is going. But this is what I'd like to do. So 3 or 4 people in the breakout room, and you have 15 minutes for this exercise. And in the breakout room, each person takes no more than 5 minutes. 5 minutes, that's all that you've got to answer one of the questions and to get feedback. So in the breakout room, one person is going to be the interviewer, another person is going to be interviewed, and another person is going to be the observer. Okay, you with me? So one's the interviewer, one's going to be interviewed, and one's going to be the observer. In the room where there's 4 people, 2 people are going to be the observers, just to make it easier. Okay, and within that time, let me just go on to that. The interviewer should ask 1 question to the interviewee. So decide who's going to be the interviewer, decide who's going to be the interviewee, and decide who's going to be the observer. So 1 person is going to answer, the first person who's going to be the interviewee is going to answer question 1. Describe a time when you provided good customer service. If any of you have a phone, can you take a picture of this so that you'll remember it when you go into the breakout room? We'll try and add it into the chat as well, but just in case you forget. So the first interviewer is going to ask the interviewee, describe a time when you provided good customer service. Then the interviewee is going to answer that 1 question using the STAR approach. So they're not going to take any more than 3 minutes. And then the observer is going to just give feedback on how that person answered the question. Was it good? Did they do it well, etc.? Give a bit of feedback. Remember, this is just practice. Just practice. That's what we're trying to do. So that's done in 5 minutes. Then you change position. Then another person be the interviewer, another person be the interviewee, and another person be the give feedback. And then you go on to the second question. So the new person, the interviewers give them a question, give an example of when you've dealt with an irate customer or an angry customer. and then that new interviewee will give an example, and that new person that's offering the feedback will give them some feedback. Then we change again, so we have a new interviewer, new interviewee, and new people giving the feedback. And then the third question is, provide an example when you have worked in a team. So that means everyone, apart from the people with 4, but everyone with 3 should take a turn being the interviewer, take a turn being the interviewee, and take a turn giving the feedback. In the room with 4, we're not going to have the time to ensure, but just ensure that everyone has as many people as possible, at least 3 people as possible, have some time to give some to be an interviewer or an interviewee. Does everyone understand me? Are you all clear? You can just turn your mics on, please, so I can ensure everyone's clear.
Yeah.
You're all clear about that? Anything that needs explaining? Yeah. So have you all just take a picture of that, please? I'm going to try and put it in the chat as well. So I'll do that in a minute. I'll stop sharing. Let me stop sharing.
It's really good to have that try. So you know, if you do the role play, you put yourself in the position of the employer, and interview others, then you can give feedback. It really helps you to really kind of like understand what's going on in the mind of the employer when they're interviewing.
Okay, well, why don't we do 2 groups? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we can go in the groups as well.
Sorry, our team, we couldn't really get all the questions.
I know, we didn't either.
You did well because you tried. I think you answered, you are confident in your answer, and you did kind of like refer to what you've done before. The first question, you could have introduced yourself, because you said introduce yourself and then talk about your customer service. But overall, I think you did well. Yeah, and take on board what Ota said as well.
Did each of you have how many interviews were there?
Only one. We only managed to do some.
You weren't supposed to ask 3 questions though. Only 1 question.
Oh.
Yeah. No, only 1 question to each person. That's why.
Okay, that's my thing.
Yeah, it was only 1 person. So we got through 2, which was really good. I think it was really good. Yeah. Actually, give some Isabel and Jenny and Jan, any feedback? Feedback?
So you're asking a question, right?
No, I'm just asking, what was the feedback? What did you learn from that session?
I think it's really helpful, this one.
Sorry, can Jan just translate for Vicky? Because I just realized Vicky is actually struggling. So please, if you can just help her, please. Yeah.
Go, Isabel, sorry.
Yeah. I go ahead then. It's really helpful, this section, because I can try to be an interviewee and really also think on my feet, what experiences or scenarios that I have I've come across in the past, and how I can turn them into something concrete that I can convince the interviewer that I have that skill set. Yeah, and I'm capable and competent in doing certain tasks.
Fantastic, excellent. Thanks everyone. I mean, maybe you didn't all get a chance, but at least you can see how people have to think on their feet, how have they've got to be succinct. That's why practice is so important. And you might think, well, Audrey, I don't know what questions they're going to ask. Actually, you do, because you've got the job description there. So sort of make up some questions that they perhaps might ask. You know, if the job description is there, they're going to ask you certain questions. And then you have that in your head that actually, let me see what answer I can give for that. So there is a preparation that you can do beforehand. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the slides because time is short. So I'm going to just run through these very quickly. Right, give me a second again. Just getting them up. Just want to change those. Fantastic. So those are the questions. So just as I said, those are some of the competency questions. These are some of the questions that they may ask you. They always have a questions of, tell me why you want to work with us, or tell me what skills you bring. Always. So make sure you practice and you rehearse what you're going to say about that. They're going to ask you a question of what skills you bring, or why you want to work with us, or why do you want to work with this company? They may ask you a question about what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses. When they ask you those questions, especially about your weakness, you can say something, you know, friends have said to me that sometimes I go ahead, or I do things last minute, but the way I overcome those things is by I start to think about how I'm doing things. So even though it might be a negative, but you try and turn it into a positive. Okay, so that's just if you get something about what your weaknesses are. Okay, competency based, I've just done that. So what happens after the interview? Well, if you got the job, well done. Ensure then you provide references, ensure you negotiate a salary, benefits, holidays, etc. Start dates, legal documents, etc., what they may want. If you didn't get the job, ask the company for feedback, especially if you're able to get, if you've had the interview. It's always good to get some feedback from the company. Say, well, what is it that I could have done better? And you know, they are usually willing to give you that feedback so that you can improve upon your skills for next time. So reflect on what you did well and what you could have done better, and keep practicing. You will succeed. Right, so let me just quickly go through just some job etiquette, which I think you should know anyway. Contact the organisation you would like to take the job offer. Ensure you know the start date. What's the work etiquette? You know, is it hybrid working? Is it flexible working? Typekeeping, appearance and dress, always important as well. Know your working rights and what you can and can't do within the organisation. Develop good interpersonal skills with work colleagues. Continue to develop yourself personally and professionally. Right, I've done that one. Just a few things. People don't get hired because they don't do enough research about the role or the company. Poor personal appearance, lack of interest and enthusiasm. They arrive late or they don't turn up. Answers are not clear and concise, maybe too much waffle, so don't waffle. They downplay their accomplishments. Can I just say something actually as I'm here? Just because English is not your first language, don't think that you're going to be marked down for that. You know, English is not the first language of a lot of people. So you can always say to the employer, look, if there's anything that I'm not answering that clearly, please, English is not my first language, so I'm happy for you to repeat anything. So, you know, don't downplay, just be confident that actually it's the skills that they're looking for. So so fail to ask for clarification if they don't ask for questions, lack of tact, cynical, poor body language. Body language is so important, and we haven't got the time to do that now, but it's so important. Even on Zoom, it's so important. So make sure you're dressed appropriately. Make sure you're looking into the camera like I'm doing now, and not reading my slides. So things like that you've got to think about when you're on Zoom. First impressions count. You only have 3 seconds to make an impact, would you believe? Most people form opinions about you within the first few seconds of meeting you. So make sure there's a good impression that you give. I won't go through that, but this might be interesting for some of you, especially as English is not your first language. 55% of a first impression is based on how you look. People make their judgments on how you look. Then secondly, on how you sound. and on thirdly, on what you say. So just to remember that, that's quite interesting. Just quickly, tips for building confidence, breathing techniques, positive speaking, you know, speak positively over yourself before the interview, you know, visualize yourself going into the interview very confident, etc. Put yourself in the interviewer's shoes. What are they looking for? What do they need? Maybe they've been interviewing all day. Maybe they're tired. Think about those things. Drink a glass of water if you need to. Okay, and then my final thing, just because we're running out of time, is our mental well-being. Look after yourself. Now, many of you have said that you've been applying for roles since last year and so forth. And I know that when you don't get a job, it can be very debilitating. It can have an effect on your mental health and your skills and your confidence, etc. But what you've got to ensure that actually you did this role before in Hong Kong. Okay, so you can do this role. There's nothing about your skills or your inabilities. You can, it's just that you're in a new country and you're just learning a new culture. So just think about all those things really, and don't be too hard on yourself. Looking after our mental well-being, even when we are not going through a global pandemic, can be tough, but it is in our control whilst we are experiencing this turbulent time. Have a good mental well-being is influenced by the things you love doing and having a healthy view of your everyday life. So be thankful of what you've got rather than what you've not got. Eating healthily, sleeping healthily, and exercise always plays a great part in your mental health and well-being. And just finally, really, some resources, some websites you can go to for jobs: Indeed, LinkedIn, JobSite, Tech Radar, Reed, Fish for Jobs, and there's plenty more jobs websites as well. As I said, I do CV. I can go through one of my roles that I do as part of my work is I look at CVs and how you can improve them, etc. I do career coaching and things like that. So if any of you need to contact me, then that's where I am. So let me stop sharing. And are there any questions?
I just wanted to kind of like add on to what you say about the mental well-being, more like self-care really with regard to looking for jobs, because it's very, like you say, it can be draining, disappointing when you apply for hundreds of jobs and then you are not really getting any interview, or sometimes you get the interview and you're not really getting the response that you're looking for. But from a personal journey, what I've learned is like, and again, working with so many different people from different countries is over the years, is like, just by you applying, getting the job interview itself is a big achievement, because there are so many other people applying. People who are born in this country, other people have come from different countries. But if you are able to get to the interview, that's a massive achievement. For you to go through the interview process itself, just being there and attending the interview is another achievement, because then you are there, be able to engage, answer the question. Even if you don't get the response that you're looking for, that's an achievement in itself. And then it helps you in your own practicing. So the more you attend these interviews, the better you are becoming. Because, you know, today they ask you these questions, you answer, maybe you even ask for feedback. That would help you to, like, next time you answer the questions in a different way. You are gaining confidence in your, like, in your speech, your communication, and the more people you meet, the better you become. So most of the time we don't look at that. We focus on, oh, I applied for this, I got rejected. And then the more we focus on that and play that in our mind, the more kind of like we are projecting the more rejection as well. So, and it's not really a rejection anyway. The way I've looked at it, when you're applying for jobs, it's two groups coming together. You are the asset, the employer has a job. So when you're looking at that, we are not, maybe this particular employer is not just right for me and I'm not right for them. That is going to help to deal with the worrying of like, oh, I'm being rejected. No, it's not a rejection. It's maybe this is not just a right employer for me at this particular time. Maybe I'm not right for them, but at the same time, I have gained something. I've gone for the interview. I've gained, they asked me this question. If they gave you feedback, even better. So you know what you did well and what you didn't do well, and then you can improve on that. That helps the job seeking process journey. It helps you to actually enjoy the process, and it helps you to really overcome that stress, the disappointment, because the more you start building on the disappointment, it can become a very challenging journey. So just enjoy the process. It's a learning process, and you apply as many as possible. Do not give up. Look for some volunteering. Volunteering really helps, because when the employer look at your CV, they see you are doing something within the UK. Most of the time, I've seen people that you are able to get into another job when there's something on your CV. But if you stay away, that can prolong the journey. But just enjoy the process. Be patient with yourself, and don't rush, because I know I've spoken to so many different, from Hong Kong. I think the experience in Hong Kong is different to the UK. But again, like Audrey said, this is a new environment. You guys have been professionals in your own countries. You've done great things there. It's the same thing here. There's nothing that's going to hinder you when it comes to your skills, your experience. It's just that this is a different environment, and it's a process slow by, so you get into the system and everything will be fine. So give yourself time. It's a learning curve, and enjoy the process, and talk to someone. You can talk to us as professionals, like, now that you've signed up, you can send us an email. You've got Audrey's detail, you can contact us. So when you find like you've done this and didn't work, talk to somebody so that you're able, that helps. And we see things in a different way. But also maybe if you have friends who've applied and now they're working again, talk to them as well. Yeah. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, just as well, in terms of, if any of you have ever applied for a job on LinkedIn, you can always see how many people have applied. Sometimes it's hundreds that applied. So that's the competition sometimes, there's loads of people. So don't think, it's because you're not good enough. It's just that they've got 100, 200, 300 people applying. So, that's the competition that sometimes we're in. But I do like what Esther said about actually volunteering, do different things to keep those skills alive, because that's what employers need, and it keeps you alive as well. Also, as well, just something, I know you've said that your work before was like, yours was law, Sam and Isabella and Otto, but sometimes your transferable skills can get you into other areas that you probably never thought of working in. So I get a lot of people who say, oh, I want to be a lawyer. Yeah. And they only apply to law firms, which is the wrong way of going about it, because big organizations, I used to work for the civil service, they have solicitors offices within those big organizations. They have legal departments. So it's not necessarily just a big just a law firm you need to apply for. You could be working in the legal department within the council, or within the HMRC, or within a civil service department. That's the thing you've got to think about. It's not just a law firm that you need to go to do that, or it's not just a marketing firm, because within the larger organizations they will have marketing assistants, marketing managers, etc. So just have a think about that. Yeah,
that's actually for Otto as well. So anything to do with housing, even the local council, they have the housing.
Yes,
they look at the housing association, they also have massive is to do with housing. So just to be flexible, open your mind. And I remember we had one of our admin from last year. She was from Hong Kong. She was actually a lawyer in Hong Kong. She did admin with us because she wanted to have that foundation, although because she was a mother, so she wanted to just focus on looking after the baby. But just to be open-minded, that really helps. It doesn't mean you are doing away with your career. It's just to really open the door so that you get into the system. You have something on your CV saying you've got the UK experience, and then through those channels you're able to now go into your actual if you want to carry on with your career, carry on into that, or if you want to just completely do something different, again, that's also a good idea. Yeah. So that's all I'll
Vicky, Vicky, is there anything that we need to go over for you at this time? Are you all right?
Yeah.
Did you get the gist of what we were saying?
Yes.
Did you
I
understand
get
some?
all. Yeah.
I think we're going to translate the slides as well. So you'll get a copy of the slides so that you can read.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any more questions before we go?
I'll share some of these questions that came up through the CV. I think the CV is through the forms. The CV has been covered.
Yeah.
If you have the writing skills, I think I'm not sure what that really meant. But this one, as like assume a senior role back in Hong Kong, should I tone down my experience? Can you
No,
explain the
not at all.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
ATS we've explained, the CV screening. No, you should not tone down your experience at all. Who's that? Who is the senior person?
I asked that question.
Okay, no, not at all. Your experiences. In fact, when you were talking, I was thinking of lots of places that you could be thinking about because you've got great experiences there, and indeed, all of you. So no, don't tone it down.
Yeah. And then during the interview, you really have to showcase that, so yes, have that on your CV, but when you are invited for the interview, really tell them that this is what I've done and this is what I can bring to your organization, because they want to, the role is it's not so much about, they want to invest in you as a whole. So they want to see what you accomplish in Hong Kong and here, and there's not much difference. What you've done there, you can do here, but you should showcase that to them. This is what I was able to do, and if I'm hired, this is what I'm hoping I can bring to you confidently. So again, like Audrey says, English is not an issue. It's how you present yourself, project that. The confidence comes through your voice. This is what I've done. This is what I've done. And if you can do that, even if like there are many hundreds or thousands of British born who can, they'll pick you. So it's really
just to say, Esther, remember I do some work with universities. 60% of universities are foreign students. That's the first thing you got to know. A lot of them come to me that they always say they're doing an MSc in robotics or aeronautics, but they're always saying to me, oh, I'm not confident because English is not my first language. And I'm thinking, wow, you're doing an MSc in this. And don't worry about that. You're very good, so don't think about that. Yeah,
it's just a mental shift that we have to shift ourselves, because one, like you said, we have our own languages. English is not mine, although it's an official language, but I have a native language. In the first 6 months of my experience in the UK, I struggled with understanding the slangs, but then because I know that in my own dialects, my own language, I'll speak like fluently, and I know, so I focus on like, if I can show that I understand what you're telling me to do and I can do it, then I'll do it. So I work on my own confidence where I'm able to explain, this is what I can do, this is what I've done. And then to just really deal with my own mindset, like saying, no, English is good where I am and I'm improving. So I had to settle that within my mind, within my heart. I'm okay where I am, and so when I go there, no matter what, because sometimes you are doing the interview, then this thought starts coming to you, or they're not listening to you, you're not saying. So it's to be able to shut down those voices and say, no, what I'm doing is right, is good, and then you can't focus on that, and you're able to communicate with them. So you are good where you are, and you are doing, because you've worked in Hong Kong, you've done you've really accomplished so many things. So that should be like the main thing to say, you know what, I've done this, I can do this. There's no much difference. I've just shifted towns, and no one is saying, they're not really saying that. They just want to see what you've done, what you can do. But it all comes through the confidence that you are able to say that confidently, I can do that, irrespective of how it comes anyway. So hopefully And I'm not saying you shouldn't. Obviously, you still carry on with your, your own improving. If you feel you need to improve, you still carry on with your own, like, learning or doing other things to help you. Yeah.
And just to say, as those that are on the call now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you. If I will, if you need a half an hour with me, then get my details from Light Foundation. I'll give you a half an hour free session in terms of your interview skills or CV or whatever. Okay, so I can do that separately with you. So only those that are on there now. You stay till the end, so you're going to get a reward.
Thank you very much. That's very good. And again, still send email to Light Foundation again with any other ongoing support. We are still here, until we know that you actually into either volunteering or a paid job. So we have that ongoing support. Yeah. Right. So, but just be encourage yourselves and be okay with yourselves. There's nothing wrong with your, there's nothing wrong with your English to start with. There's also nothing wrong with your skills. There's nothing wrong, why they're not picking you. It's just a process, and this is like new, like, you're getting to know the culture, the people, but eventually you get there. So just know that and encourage yourselves. And trust me, you're not the only one. There are so many, like Audrey said, I've seen so many people who are born in this country who are also struggling with with the jobs. So the other people have come from other countries. So again, the competition is very, very high. So you have to think about those things. That it's not just there are other people who are born here are struggling. The people who are born in other countries, but also the competition. People are just coming straight from college, they're struggling. There are those who are coming from university struggling. Then there are those who have lived, who have done like maybe high profile jobs. So it's kind of just the market itself. It has nothing to do with where you come from, what you've done, what is gone. It's just the market. Really, the market, the competition is high. So present your CV to the best of your abilities. When you go for interviews, what you're having in mind is like, I'm up against other people. So I have to present my best to the best of my ability so that I get the job. What if they get the job? Great. If you don't get the job, again, you move on to the next one. So that it doesn't push you back, go back. No, you don't need to get depressed. Just learn from what happened. Pick yourself up and move on to the next chapter. That's how I have managed to do my work. It's similar to what we are doing with Light Foundation. It's the same thing. It's a competition. You are competing with other organizations. So sometimes we apply for funds and you don't get it. Do we close the organization? No, we say, okay, what can we learn? We make more applications. In the days I was looking for jobs, it was the same thing. I remember after I left university, I've made so many applications that I really struggled, but then I knew that if I didn't carry on, I was not going to achieve anything. So you still carry on, but just have a positive mindset and just encourage yourselves. And again, we, like ourselves and other organizations, who are able to help you. So that's my speech. You can tell I'm very passionate.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for staying on.